and welcome to Mom Squad. I'm Maureen Kyle, and this is a show where we talk all things parenting. And get ready to spend. As you could probably tell by your email inbox, the holiday sales are upon us. And I don't know about you, but I fall for every promotional blast that says I'm going to get the best deal. And somehow I always overspend. So we talked with nationally renowned lifestyle journalist Trae Bodge, who focuses on smart shopping, personal finance, and parenting. Take a listen to the advice that she has leading into the holiday season. I know everybody out there needs to start planning that holiday budget. So what kind of advice do you have for us now that we're like way before the Black Friday shopping holiday?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. It feels like it's early, but a lot of consumers started shopping in October during those early October sales. And like you and I were just chatting about, even though it's not even Black Friday, we're seeing a lot of sales now. So it can be very dizzying for consumers. So the first thing that I would recommend is to get organized, be aware of who you need to buy for, have some gift ideas for each, a budget for each. And then if you need to do a little selfish shopping during the holiday, add yourself to your holiday list as well, so you don't go over budget. And this way you can move forward into the holiday shopping season feeling a bit more organized.
Yeah. You know what? I fall victim to, and I know I'm not alone, I fall victim to those emails that come out and you have that impulse shopping. Do we budget for that, or how do we, take ourselves a step back or two and say, well, okay, wait, hold on, this is not in my budget?
Yes. So I do think we budget for that. If you happen to be kind of a one for them, one for me shopper, which a lot of us are during the holidays because we can't resist. We have these amazing sales and we think, I need that, So make sure to add yourself to your list and set a spending cap for yourself. So if it's $50, $100, whatever it is that you can afford in your budget, you'll buy much more mindfully if you do that. And then I would also say that every time you shop, look for an opportunity to save. Check out your favorite coupon sites, look for coupons and cash back offers, see what your memberships have to offer. For example, if you are an AARP member, you can save 30% off charcuterie boards and chocolates at FTD. That's a really great gift for almost anyone on your list. So if you look for those opportunities to save, you'll be able to save significantly throughout the holiday shopping season.
I think savings gets confusing too. I mean, there are those websites, but I know a lot of us have that question of, is this the best deal at this moment, or am I going to get a better deal if I wait? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And there are a lot of tools that you can use online to help you do research. For example, if you simply use your search engine to search the name of an item, all the places where it's sold and the prices will pop up. And then you can say like, okay, I'm getting the best deal here where I am, or I need to go elsewhere and save even more. Also, a lot of retailers offer price protection, especially during the holidays. So as you're shopping, if you happen to shop early and you see a lower price later, you can go back and ask for a refund.
Right. Great advice. Let's go back to the budget for a second, because I think a lot of people, they put a budget together, and even if they stick to it, it seems like it's hard to come up with a realistic budget. Like in reality, this is what I have to spend in my own bank account or upcoming paychecks. How do we make sure that we are dealing with reality and not a fantasy budget?
That's such a great question. And what I would say is if you do this year after year, you'll be able to stay on budget much better. So make that list of recipients, gift ideas for each, a budget for each. Put it in the Notes app on your phone or an Excel sheet, whatever works for you. I like the Notes app because you have it on your phone with you wherever you are if you happen to be in store. So at the end of the holiday, right, you look at your budget and say, okay, was I able to pay off my credit cards in January when my statement came, or am I bringing debt into February and March? Then when the next holiday comes, you can look back and say, okay, that budget worked for me, or okay, I overspent. Let me shave a little bit off of how much I spend per person. Or perhaps if your financial situation has improved this year, you can bump up that amount per person. So it's really a year after year process. process. But if you're just starting now, try to stay within that wiggle room that you have in maybe your rainy day fund if you collect money throughout for your holiday shopping, and try not to go beyond that, because the last thing you want to do is bring debt into 2024 with you.
Right. And Trae, I know you talk a lot about parenting, and this is what we focus on here on this show.
Yeah.
I feel like parents want to make the holidays so magical, and we feel this pressure of, oh, well, we only have these few years when they're little, or they're getting older, and I want to make sure this is special. How much of that emotional spending plays into our holiday?
A lot. So parents often report that they go overboard when they're spending for their kids because, like you said, they're only this age once and you want to make it magical for them. However, if you go overboard with your kids, what you end up doing sometimes are raising kids who expect that. So I always suggest keep it low and light with your kids every year. Maybe it's a couple of gifts per kid, maybe one special thing per year, something like that. That way you teach them that holiday can be about moderation. If you teach them about bounty, they're going to expect bounty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I want to know, do you have any favorite sites or any favorite tricks that you always put into place every holiday season?
Yeah. So first of all, if you're wondering what to buy, I do a lot of shopping professionally. So I write gift guides that I think are helpful to consumers. So if you go to truetrae.com, look at my holiday gift guides. I have gifts for all sorts of different budgets. So that's a good place to start. Follow your favorite experts and follow their advice so you're not kind of wandering around the store when you're not sure what to buy. Also, make sure that you're taking advantage of those memberships. We mentioned AARP. This is one of my favorites because you can save on everything from flowers to cell service to UPS shipping. If you're packing up your packages and sending it to recipients, there's a great discount that's 5% off international and domestic shipping. And then follow just a couple of those deal sites like we mentioned. We want to make sure that we're taking advantage of those coupons and cash back offers. And then the last thing I would say, and this is one of my favorite tricks that a lot of people forget about, is that your credit card carrier has exclusive partnerships with retailers. They're sending you emails that you're probably ignoring that are offering you discounts to the places where you'd like to shop this holiday. And then also make sure you're shopping with a credit card that is giving you cash back or points, so you're making your shopping work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you mentioned that you have a gift guide, I'm always looking for great gift ideas. What are your top 3 gifts to give this year?
Yeah. So first of all, one of the worst things that you can do when you're buying a gift is to buy a bad gift, right? If you're really scratching your head, I have a couple of suggestions that would be helpful that are very general. So first of all, I love flowers, houseplants, chocolates, charcuterie boards, anything like that. You can get those at FTD, one of my favorite resources there. I would also say gift cards. Now, they may feel impersonal, but they don't have to be. There are places where you can get personalized gift cards. And according to the National Retail Federation, gift cards are the most popular gift year after year. So if you're really not sure what to give someone, give them a gift card and give them that pleasure to shop for themselves. And then I would leave you with this also, is that experiences are becoming very popular. People want to do things. They want to have moments. And so when you're thinking about what to give someone something to do. Maybe you organize an ice skating trip or a hiking trip, something like that that's affordable and really fun, and you can take pictures and remember it forever.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. My 10-year-old said, I'll take a trip to Disney. That's fine. Put that on my list, right? So speaking of travel, are there any ways to find travel deals? Because people are either traveling to see family or maybe they do want to take that trip during the break.
Yeah. And holiday travel can be so expensive. So the earlier you book, the better. So it's important to get started planning now, and then make sure that you're looking at those travel aggregators. You can track prices, track flights, track hotels. I would also recommend, if you're traveling with family, to look at Airbnb or a similar service to stay with family all together in one home. And then also, I talked about your memberships. If you're an AARP member, you can book travel through their travel center, which is powered by Expedia, and find exclusive sales, seasonal discounts. So again, these extra steps only take maybe 30 seconds or a minute extra to look for that extra deal and save. And I would really recommend that with all of your holiday shopping and travel booking as well.
Yeah. And before we let you go, I know that, the world has kind of changed a little bit over the past couple of years. Families are trying to get together more, but sometimes we're still celebrating virtually. And you have some advice on how to make the most out of that?
Yeah. So, during the pandemic, when we were organizing those Zoom meetings with our families, I would keep that up. If there are family members that you're not going to see during the holidays, set up that Zoom on Christmas Day or a day during Hanukkah or whatever you happen to celebrate. Make sure that you're able to connect by phone as well, and connect especially with those family members who live alone. You don't want someone to be alone on Christmas and feel alone on Christmas. So make sure you're connecting with those family members and make those appointments ahead of time, because sometimes during the hectic day, you forget, oh my gosh, I've got the turkey in the oven and presents to open, and then you forget to call those family members. So you want to make sure to check in with everybody.
Yes. Well, Trae Bodge, thank you so much. This is making our holiday a lot less stressful, especially when we can stick to that budget. I'm going to do it this year.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Thank you again to Trae Bodge for taking the time to talk with us. And I want to focus on part of our conversation there, the pressure to make things magical for our kids and what we're setting them up for. This is something executive producer Jenny Jordan and I talk about all the time. Jenny is joining us on this one. And we've talked about this during Mom Squad, but the pressure to make the holidays magical, the way Trae brought up, that we're setting our kids up for disappointment later in life. I mean, do you ever feel that way or worry about that?
Yes, that really hit home. And I feel like I thought back to my childhood and why I feel like so much pressure.
Yeah.
And so much everything needs to be amazing, because it felt like that for me, and I wanted that for my kids, but it really isn't about the things, right? Mm-hmm. And so I try to remind myself of that. But like she said, if you think that this is, Christmas morning, you have to come down and there's a pile this big. And how many people say that, right, too? Because when you're a little kid, it's easy to get the kids a pile that fills up the entire, tree and goes and spatters out. And then they become teenagers and everything costs 3 times as much as what they did when they were little kids.
Right.
And now their pile's this big and you feel like, oh, now they don't have as much stuff or something. And it's like, oh, wait, that isn't, it's not about any of that, right? And that's and then when they're going to become parents, they're going to have the same feelings. And so sort of, having some sort of guidelines, I think is really helpful.
Mm-hmm, having those limits. Now, here's where I fall victim, because I thought I was setting up limits. And we always tell Santa, only bring 3 things. Mm-hmm. And then I say, you get 3 things from mom and dad, and you get 3 things from Santa. That's it. But then throughout the season, once, Thanksgiving's over, dishes are barely put away, then I go overboard with well, now we need to go ice skating and let's go to Starbucks and get some hot cocoa. And my kids, once that calendar flips to December, they think it's sugar plum fairies every single day of well, what are we doing today? And last year, I went to college in New York City. So a lot of my college roommates are still there, and Jenny knows this. I took my oldest to New York City for New York City Christmas time with the window displays and the tree, and yes, totally magical. So now this year, my middle, who's a little young to walk around, she's like, where's my trip? When am I going? And so I've already set up, I was trying to make it let's show all this Christmas magic and holiday magic. And now I've already set them up for this expectation that it's not even just gifts, it's just the whole season.
Right.
Here's why I struggle with that. I want them to have fantastic memories of our house and our holidays, because I want them to always look back and be like, gosh, that was so much fun, and I loved being at home, and I loved, experiencing all these things. But then is that selfish of me? Like I don't know. I mean, like, am I going to set them up to be adults who are disappointed in like what the holiday actually is of like stress and
no, because well, here's how I look at it. Maybe I'm crazy. I feel like I want them to love it so much because I want them to keep wanting to come home.
Exactly.
I want them to come home to my house.
Right.
No offense to their future husbands, wives, partners.
Right.
I just I hope it's so magical that they always want to come to our house, and we're not the family that's like, oh, I have to go there. Maybe we'll go there December 28th.
Right. Right. And you know what? And so that's where I think there's this hard, fine line, like the finest line you can ever walk, because I loved Christmas at my grandparents, and that we would spend Christmas Day there. My cousins and I would sneak all the cookies. We would play in the basement. Like, I don't even really remember all the toys that I got.
No.
But I remember the family being around and the cookies that were there and the food that we had. And my grandpa always got us a book, and it was like, ooh, even though it was like a book, it was always like, ooh, what book are we gonna get? It was like these traditions. And I think what we need to do to approach it in a healthy way is, we don't have to spend a lot on the traditions, like taking your kids to New York City to see the tree, but you can spend time and effort.
Yes.
Which adds to the stress. But, I think that's where we have to find that fine line of expectations.
Yes, I agree 100%. Same thing with me. I loved going to my grandparents. We always had this family tradition, and it's funny because my grandfather was not just a bargain shopper. He was the person that would send away for things. On the cereal box, you would collect it, or the Pepsi cans or whatever, and you'd send it away and you'd get like a free t-shirt or something, Right. And so after the presents were all done, we would get, we would have this like raffle for all the free things. And that is, to this day, we still do it.
Yeah.
Everybody, as I get free swag sometimes from here, or, my brother's a doctor, he'll get some sort of like stuffed kidney. I mean, I don't know why. Like, it's a stuffed animal that looks like a kidney. He wraps it up, and that's like what our tradition is. And then it's like, oh, what did you get? Oh, somebody maybe got, a roll of toilet paper, but it's got $1 stuffed in it. And we trade each other. And that is what it is. It's all about that time spent.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you say that, because this year I am trying for the first time. I'm going to decorate early. I've always been that person that was like, no, I want to do Thanksgiving. I'm going to wait. I love all my fall. I feel a little bit bad because I do love all my fall decorations, and I love that. And I still think that, obviously Thanksgiving is an important holiday, but I'm going to decorate early. I see people doing it all the time. And I'm going to try to really have all that done so that the stress isn't about the decorating and the shopping. It could be about the time spent.
Yes.
And that we can really enjoy those moments and not feel like I'm rushing here, and have to get all this other stuff done.
Right.
So check in with me in January, see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'll feel about it, but, because they are only little ones. And they only have this little bit of time. Yeah. And so that magic is special. But like Trae said, you don't need to set them up for expectations of these huge, big things. Right.
And follow through on it then too. Like, set them up and follow through, because, we've done a lot of mom squads before about making sure that your kids are not spoiled kids, that they're showing gratitude. And I was even just recently listening to a podcast that talked about letting your kids fail, or letting them have disappointment.
Yeah.
Because they need to have that discomfort of, oh my gosh, well, I was expecting an iPad under the tree and I didn't get it. I don't know, now I sound Grinchy, but it's, maybe, I'm going to try this with okay, we're not going to go ice skating outside and buy $20 lattes and go, you know what I mean? We're not going to go whole hog. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to
if you can't do that, maybe it's instead we're going to go home and do a snowball fight, and that's your new tradition. Yes. And they might find that even more fun. Right. Maybe instead of going to the fancy breakfast out with Santa and the new dresses that you get and the pictures and all that, maybe it's cooking at home together and having that. You can do your own thing and make it what you want it to be. And I think that was sort of her messaging, but it's funny how traditions start too, because not to make it all about me, I hope I'm not doing that. The one year.
That's why people are tuning in. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to my show. No, but the 1 year we were like, oh my gosh, you know, it was crazy when actually the 1 year Santa had left a present in our basement.
Oh.
And so it was one of those kind of like surprise gifts.
Yeah.
Well, then the next year, you know, my kids were like, oh, does Santa leave a present in the basement again? Santa did it. It was just a one-time thing. He didn't think about that, you know. So it's like not everything does have to be a tradition. It could be a one-time magical thing for that year.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think kids just think that way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, Santa did this one time, so that means he's going to do that every year, you know, or like we did this last year, so when are we going to do it again? And maybe the tradition is mixing traditions up so that, you know, especially if the budget's tight this year and you can't, you just don't want to spend the money on that extra gift or that extra outing or whatever. I mean, there's a bunch of other ways that you can go have fun. The other thing that I liked when I was looking at ways to make sure your kids don't get spoiled, and in some interviews we've done before, is making sure the chores are done before the fun. And so, you know, just this year we've really struggled in our household with the neat and tidy rooms and things put away where they're supposed to be put away and not leaving things just on the floor or leaving things cluttered or whatever. So, you know, making sure that the kids take care of their responsibilities before they get all of the rewards can also help rein them in on, you know, not having big expectations, knowing that they have to do some work.
Right.
And then they can have some fun, can also kind of...
Because Santa's always watching.
Keep them salt of the earth. Yes. Oh.
Santa's always watching, making sure you're listening to your parents.
Yes. Well...
That elf on the shelf, making sure you're cleaning your room, you know?
Yes.
You know, not to add to that stress level of that, but you know, I mean, you got to use it in your favor sometimes. You got to make sure that you're cleaning up and stuff.
Right, right.
You
Our
know?
elf is pretty lame. I will say our elf just kind of moves around the house.
Well, you know what? Because your kids probably need to clean up.
They probably need to. Maybe I'll explain to them that the elf only does fun things if they get their chores done. We'll see. But that's just one of those things, you know, like not giving in to their begging, making sure you set their limits and sticking to limits. Those are all the ways that we've talked about before on how to make sure you don't have spoiled kids.
Yeah, and stay off social media. That's the highlight reel of Christmas.
Yes.
You're going to go on social media and all your friends, look, they took 5 vacations over Christmas break. Yeah. Wow. They're celebrating it on a beach and in Disney and in 5 other places. Yeah. But you don't know what they're, you know. Right.
Well, I think
don't compare.
We're going to have a lot to talk about as we go through the holiday season, but I'm really glad that Trae Bodge shared all that with us. I mean, it's a good reminder every year of like setting that budget and making sure your expectations are realistic, because we all fall victim to that, as we've just learned in this conversation. Like, we want the magic, we don't want to spend the money. Where do you find that fine line and make sure you have your own boundaries with you and your kids? So. And
in January, we'll talk about how we get out of debt. Not listening to Trae.
We do have a couple of those up our sleeve. So, Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel.
And thanks to all of you for joining us here on Mom Squad. We'll see you right back here next time.